Hello friends, good news, we actually have combos now. So today I want to talk about a new type of card that I just added to my game. And in case you haven't seen my last video, I'm making a Metroidvania crossed with a card game. Now, one of the biggest issues with trying to merge a turn-based genre with a real-time one is that the timescale is completely different. You might spend a few seconds thinking about which card to play in a normal card game, but in a typical action game, every decision happens in a fraction of a second. Because of that, we need to find a way to reduce the cognitive load that comes from the cards. And there are a few ways we could approach this, but first let's take a look at what One Step from Eden does to keep things manageable. First of all, most of the cards only have one or two short sentences of text, or very rarely three, which makes a lot of sense. We wouldn't want to have entire paragraphs of text on every card. It should be easy for the player to remember what each card does just by looking at it. This is further facilitated by the use of keywords like flow, anchor, frost, and so on. As long as you know what these keywords mean, you can generally understand what a card does pretty quickly, even when you find a new card that you haven't seen before. This allows the cards to have a little bit more complexity without greatly increasing the amount of effort needed to process what's going on in real time. Another important feature is that every playable character in One Step from Eden has a basic weapon card that they can use at any time. A lot of these function as sort of filler attacks that you can use to deal a little damage while you think about which card you want to play next. I think this is a great feature since it gives the player a consistent way to deal damage without expending too much brain power. So I wanted to try something like that in my game as well. To that end, I created a new weapon type card. It works a little bit differently from One Step from Eden, but it serves the same purpose. Rather than having a single card that you can play at any time, the weapon card will need to be drawn like any other card. However, once it's in your hand, playing it won't immediately discard it. Instead, it'll start a combo attack, and playing it multiple times consecutively will continue the combo. If you play a different card in the middle of the combo, it'll be reset back to the first attack in the combo. The only way to discard it currently is to play it 4 times and to use the final attack in the combo, which will deal higher damage compared to the previous attacks. I like to think of it as something like the Devil Breakers in Devil May Cry 5. You can choose to hold on to them for the utility that they provide, or you can sacrifice them for a big burst of damage. Furthermore, because it takes some time to execute the full combo, it works really well as a way to stall while you think about which of the other cards in your hand you want to play. I think these weapon cards will add a really interesting layer of strategy for the player, and using them effectively will be key to building stylish combos. So how did I implement all of this? The weapon card itself was actually pretty straightforward. It just required a slight tweak from my previous code. Before, the cards would always be discarded as soon as they were played, but now there's a combo counter that determines which attack in the sequence the character will use. If any non-weapon cards are used, it will just reset the counter back to 0 and use the standard attack animation instead. I did end up making some changes to the overall structure of the card system, though. I updated the cards to be scriptable objects instead of the standard mono-behavior scripts. Long story short, they function the same way, but now it's much easier to create new cards and populate them with the information that they need to be used in the game. I also made some updates to the Input Manager class. Just like we have buffering for jumps, it's also important to buffer the attacks, especially when performing a combo. And just a quick reminder that buffering is when you press a button while the character is unable to perform an action, so they perform that action as soon as they become available. With combos, that means that if you mash the attack button, your attacks will come out as soon as the animation for the current attack ends. Without buffering, you might end your combo early because you pressed the button in the middle of another attack animation and the game just didn't register it. That's why it's so important to have this feature. When the player presses a button, the character should do what the player expects them to do. Of course, in order to test the new combo attacks, I needed to update the character sprites as well. As I mentioned in my last devlog, the free assets I was using only had one attack animation, so I threw together some new animations using a stick figure instead. Eventually I'd like to use some higher quality art, but this'll do for now. Now you might be wondering why this stick figure has a scythe. Well, I won't get into the story too much here, but basically the main character is a sort of necromancer, and I thought a scythe would fit well with that. That's also why this cute little kitty is wearing a skull mask. I call it the Reaper. Get it? Because it's like the sound that a cat makes. Anyway, that's all that I have for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any other terrible puns that I can use for creature names. And subscribe for more updates. Bye!